Hello, we are the Pantheon, and this is Nerds and Nonsense, where we talk about comics, games, and any other nerdy nonsense that piques our interest. Today, we are going to talk about the first 5 issues of The Amazing Spider-Man Renew Your Vows Volume 2, because it's just a really cute and fun series that we enjoyed reading and wanted to share and talk about. It's a low stakes story about Peter, MJ, and their daughter Annie Mae fighting, figuring out their dynamic and learning how to work together, both as a family and a team. It's a Marvel Now follow-up to the 5-issue miniseries that was continued from The Amazing Spider-Man Volume 3 and was a tie-in to the 2015 Secret War story, the one that crashed the Ultimate and 616 universes together. And so in this, Peter shares his powers with MJ using this technology from a fight that presumably happened in Volume 1. It wasn't really clear that this was a Volume 2 when we started reading it, so we didn't even know a Volume 1 existed until we were researching for this video. And Annie is a mutant with the same powers as her father, Peter. There seems to be a little bit of a difference, only in that she seems to have there's an additional aspect to her body sense, whereas for Peter it's just this general feeling of oh shit, something's about to happen pretty immediately, or something weird is going on currently. While Annie has that as well, she also has a more precognitive ability where she fully sees an image of something that has not happened and is not about to happen immediately. For example, in the first issue, she sees Peter and MJ fighting the Mole Man while she's at school, and she rushes off to help them. But when she arrives, they're fine, and they're not even there yet. And so when the story begins, Peter and MJ are already crime-fighting partners, but Peter is still adjusting to having a partner, and so he doesn't always call MJ when he should, and even when she's there, he still kind of tries to handle stuff on his own. Honestly, it is a little Spider-Man No Way Home when they're in the third act fight, in the final fight. And Annie is eager to use her powers and help out, even though she's only in elementary school. I don't recall them saying exactly what age or what grade she's in, but yeah, she's just in elementary school, probably 3rd grade or something. So super young, definitely not of crime fighting age yet, but she's the daughter of Peter Parker and MJ and was born with these powers, so she's ready to get out there. Is she technically a mutant? We have to re-look up the definition of mutants, because for a while it was just anyone who was born with their powers, and then it became more specific in that it's only people with the X gene, and there are people who have power who are born with their powers but don't have the X gene. Okay, that's a whole other thing. We're not gonna get into that. So yeah, her wanting to help and get involved in stuff is a huge source of the drama in these first few issues. So these first issues were primarily written by Gary Conway, with art by Ryan Stegman, coloring done by Sonia Obak, and lettering by Joe Caramagna. For issue 5, the art is by Nathan Stockman with Jesus Abertov, sorry if I butchered that, doing the coloring, and Clayton Cowles doing the lettering. There's also an additional short story at the end of issue 1 by Anthony Holden that we'll talk about towards the end. And so in terms of the art, we really love it. It's so fun. It's nothing incredibly unique or mind-blowing, it's Spider-Man. You don't want to have to be too different, but yeah, it looks really good. It's very shadow heavy, which really gets the intensity across when necessary, and when it's not when you don't need that intensity, it's not overbearing. It's not oh man, why does this look so dark, but it is a little on the heavier side in terms of the shadows, and they do a really great job getting across the emotions and nuances of each character. Really great job. It doesn't stand out, like I said, it doesn't stand out too much from the typical Spider-Man comic, but has just enough individual flavor to make it unique and a little extra cute. It's noticeable that it's different. The colors are a bit muted, but they still pop because there's so much contrast, so it still looks really great. We really like MJ's costume. Though the domino mask that she's wearing is kind of like, it's very silly given that she's way more famous than Peter Parker. She's like been a model right now. Like in this story, she owns like a boutique, I believe. Like Peter's just a photographer and he has like the full, like a full mask. But you know, it's a really lighthearted story, so it's not meant to be taken super seriously. So it's fine. We really love Annie's costume because it looks like how a kid should look when you send them out to like a skate park. Like they should be padded up, helmet, all that stuff. And it's just so perfect for a child. It's very, you know, it's very on brand, it's very themey. Yeah, and it's just super adorable and just perfect for a child. Like she has elbow pads, knee pads, shoulder pads. This helmet that if I remember correctly, has like spider eyes on it. Or like eyes like Peter's mask, rather. So like some of the other things about these first few issues that we liked is how so like the first issue is from Peter's perspective, the second is from MJ's, and the third is from Annie's. And issues 4 and 5 are from like a sort of whole family perspective, and it's really nice. It gives you a really cool view into each character's individual lives, as well as showing the family interactions from each perspective. It's also really great to see how much of like a loving family they are, and how they're like really trying their best to look out for each other and like just help each other out while still like showing their flaws, and you know how they're still growing. You get to see how Peter's life is very much still classic Peter Parker. Still a lot of like running around, being late to things, forgetting things, you know, classic Peter. Still works at the Daily Bugle, and it's still like Jonah's still being an ass. You get to see MJ running her own business. It's the boutique, like we mentioned before, and Annie is adjusting to school while like trying to deal with the distraction of knowing that she's basically a superhero on the side. Just like being distracted by her much more exciting home life and her dreams of just like fully being a superhero with her parents. You also get to see like how rebellious she is and how much she really takes after Peter and MJ, by like standing up for people who need it, like at school and stuff. It also shows, like we mentioned earlier, how Annie's powers are different from Peter's, with her being able to get, you know, like full visions and of things that are happening like much later, basically. Same thing we said earlier. The pacing is like really splendid. Like there's a plot kind of going on in the background with Normie Osborn, who's Harry's son. He's about the same age as Annie, but he's running Oscorp and trying to get revenge on Peter, but also like finds Annie just super fascinating. It gets like enough attention for you to like know that there's something going on in the background and to be intrigued by it, but it also doesn't take away from the main story at all. It's not like distracting, but it also doesn't get just like lost in the background. Like it's not just like mentioned here and then gone for several issues, and you're like, and then brought back and you're like, what? I forgot there was even a thing happening here. It's not like that at all. As far as things that we didn't like, there wasn't really anything, to be honest. Like we've reread the first 5 issues several times at this point, and there's nothing that we could like really pick out that we didn't like. Just like small nitpicks, like MJ wearing a domino mask when she's been like a famous supermodel. But things like that are just like, they're more funny than like, it's more of like a funny nitpick than like, what the hell kind of thing. And something that was like that we really loved was at the end of the first issue, there's a really great mini story called The Earnest Adventures of Spider-Dad by Anthony Holden. It's a really great story about Peter and Annie just hanging out all day, doing things they really aren't supposed to while MJ is at work. I think they don't really say where she goes. She's just like, oh yeah, I have to leave, and then leaves and then comes back later. I'm assuming she's at work. Before she leaves, Peter makes a joke about eating ice cream and watching Tangled over and over again. And MJ tells Annie not to let him eat ice cream for breakfast. And so as soon as she's gone, Peter breaks out donuts. And he's like, it's technically not ice cream. The whole issue is just like filled with stuff like this. Jonah calls Peter to drop off some photos, and Peter is just like making, like the whole time he's on the phone with Jonah. He's just like making jokes about swinging over, I think like sending him through the web, just like making a bunch of little puns. Yeah, so he has to like go to drop off some photos to Jonah, and he brings Annie along. And on the way they spot Sandman, and Peter's just like, well, first Annie's like, oh, can we go play with Sandman? And Peter's like, hey, yeah, sure. So he just kind of hands her to Sandman. He just hands Annie to Sandman, and they just like, they're just playing. Like Annie has him like build a sandcastle and basically like act out a scene from Tangled, where like he has to like make a braid down the castle, but it looks like really shitty. And so, you know, Peter goes and does with Jonah. Jonah's being a cheapskate and all that. And then Peter comes back and picks up Annie and is like, thanks, and webs him up. And they put like a wig with a bow on his head, and there's like a kid in the background that's like laughing at him. After that, they just kind of like go and hang out for the day. They go play at a park, eat and hang out by a water fountain, and then just head back home. Only getting there just like right before MJ, but like making it seem like they hadn't moved all day. And it ends with them just like all watching Tangled together. And like, yeah, we said it a lot, but these stories are just so cute. Like, really lighthearted, really fun. And we just like adore them so much. And yeah, that's it. That's the first 5 issues of Amazing Spider-Man: Renew Your Vows. We're thinking about maybe doing the rest of the series in chunks like this. We're also not sure because we got a little bored with it. Honestly, while we were like in the process of making it, like the whole thing is like really fun. Or actually, we haven't read the entire thing, but we've read most of it so far, and the whole thing is like really fun. But we're just not sure if we feel like doing a video about the whole thing or doing videos about the whole thing, but we might, who knows. And if other people like do want to see that, then we'll be like more likely to do that. But no promises, no guarantees. And so yeah, that's pretty much it. So we just like to thank you for spending time with us, just spending time nerding out with us. Let us know what you thought, what your thoughts are in the comics. Did you like this? Have you read it? And if not, do you plan on it? Did this sound interesting? Did it sound just really stupid? Let us know what you thought. What other comics or media would you like to discuss and nerd out with us about? Thank you, and we hope you enjoy the rest of your day or evening or whatever time of day it is where you are, or when you're watching this rather. Bye.